Right, so here we have it, the top 5 UK sea angling baits. I mean, we talk a lot about tackle and rods and reels and wonderful fishing trips, and I'm just like thinking, well, I really want to be sort of focusing something on some bait. Anyway, Logworm is a bait I generally use all the time off the beach. That's my number one, fresh blow Logworm. If I can get hold of some blacks, great. But generally, Logworm is my go-to bait. Number one, threaded on the hook, and yeah, plonked out there with the surf caster. And over the years, I've had a lot of good cod to it. A lot of species will take it. I've had smooth hound on it, whiting, codling, flatfish, flounders, plaice, you name it. They virtually all take it. It's very sort of a lot of juice and blood, brilliant bait, and that would be probably be my number one, I would say. This next bait, the crab, obviously when they're in molten stage, they're at their best. Threaded on a hook with a load of cotton for bass in particular. They seem to be at home in on the scent. You can fish hardbacks for smooth hound. So if they're not in peeler state and they're hard, you can still sort of snip them in two, so they're still sort of very live so much, and thread them on a very sturdy sort of hook, and you can lob that out, and you should get a smooth hand on that, especially in the dark or during the day if the water's mucky. But peeler is a very, very good bait for bass, and big bass as well. They do like a big peeler. Only chucked out 20-30 yards. That's all you need on a renowned sort of bass beach. That would be my go-to. As the water warms up, the crabs will start to molt, and you can get them a bit early, and you might be able to put them in a bucket with seaweed and salt water, and put them in the greenhouse as the weather starts to heat up. Another good bait is ragworm. I frequently encounter these when I dig lug, and they're good for sort of tipping the hook. You can sort of tip your hook with squid and stuff like that, but I find ragworm's pretty good. You can fish ragworm straight on its own, put a couple on, and your flatfish will go for it. It's a very good bait for drifting for plaice if you're boat fishing. And I've had a few plaice on it over the years, and bass seem to like it as well. I seem to pick off a few flatfish and bass on it. It's a very good bait. When I'm digging it, I find it hard to get hold of any numbers and size, so it might be best to speak with the tackle shop with regards to ordering some. It's always good to be on the beach if you've got some lug and you've got some good quality ragworm as well, so you can sort of mix it up a little bit. It's a definite good bait. It's good on sort of match hooks, smallish hooks to pick off your flatfish. Another bait here, mackerel, is a very good bait. You can fish it just like this for bass. If you can't get hold of any other sort of bait, you can fish it just like this, and you'll find a bass will pick that up. A slab of mackerel, or a mackerel head. There's something about mackerel when it's fresh, and if you're float fishing for other mackerel or even garfish, they'll take it as well. So you can also sort of drift on a boat and slow retrieve a mackerel fillet like this, rigged up like this, maybe the hook just in the head there so it don't tangle so much, and you can get pollock like that as well. Or if you just cast this out off the rocks, in sort of a fairly sort of rocky area, you might get a rash, you might get a pollock. Definitely a pollock would pick it up. Even if your friend had it fished like that under a float. It's good off the beach as well for whiting. They'll actually home in on it and smash it to pieces. Dogfish as well like it, bullhuss, congers, conger eels, whole host of fish like mackerel. It's a very, very good bait. One thing I would say about it is you want to keep it nice and cold and fresh, because it does deteriorate quite badly in the sun. All these baits need to be kept sort of relatively cool, really, when you're on the beach or about to use them. Another bait here, squid, Californian squid. Lung squid I find is the best. Fishing it whole for bigger fish. And unfortunately, the peckers and little fish will want to have a little chew at it and stuff like that. But when I have caught some good fishing whole squid, usually you get the fish. It's in a few minutes. It's within 5 minutes of the bait being out there. That better fish has just grabbed hold of it. So it's worth persevering with fishing whole squid for bass, for cod. If you're up tide and off a boat, you can chuck out a whole squid, maybe fish 2 hooks in it, or just have one hook threaded through, biggish hook, 4050, something like that. And that's pretty much it. That's my video on baits. Like I say, not much has been done on baits, so I just thought I'd do a sort of a fairly sort of straightforward video. But they're mine. So we'll put this in some sort of order. We'll put it sort of the top 5, and so pretty much as it flies. Bloke there with a nice surf caster, giving it a good pelt. But anyway, number 1 is going to be my lugworm. It's my favourite bait to use off the beach, or if I'm up tiding off a boat. Crab, obviously, for the smooth hand, or the peeler crab for the bass. And squid, fishing at whole for cod or bass off the beach or the boat. And then mackerel, the very versatile bait. And ragworm in at number 5. And like I say, with all these baits, keeping them cool and not letting them get too warm is vital.